Nights like these are therapy. I feel my sorrows fading away. I close my eyes to see the light that's shining deep inside me. I just can't sleep, get lost in these moments. Can't press repeat, gotta freeze it and hold it. I'm in too deep as the ocean. No, I just can't sleep, cause I'm lost in these moments. 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 We break away and disobey. We feel our sorrows fading away. We got tonight to share the light. Yeah, we can make it better. I just can't sleep, get lost in these moments. Can't press repeat, gotta freeze it and hold it. Yeah, I'm in too deep as the ocean. No, I just can't sleep, cause I'm lost in these moments. Lost in these moments. Lost in these moments.
Well, today is the day. We are going to honor Pope Francis today. I'm not his biggest fan. And it turns out that, and by the way, we're gonna be joined by Matt Wallace. He's going to join us today. And so let me just tell you really quick what we'll do, and we'll come back and we'll be joined by Matt. After a long battle with health problems, Pope Francis passed away at 88 years old. You'll have to ask, though, is it, man, this is hard for me to say. You look at the things that he said over the last 12 years, and, you know, he invited 100 transgenders to the Vatican. And as someone that has been deeply exploring the Catholic faith, I just have to ask whether or not in his death, whether he had any regret of some of the things he said or did. He actively promoted liberalism. He promoted what was happening in the town square. In other words, he promoted what society told us we had to accept, not what the Bible said. And then we have to ask the question, is the Pope fulfilling the prophecy of the popes? And is the second coming actually coming? I hope so. And I say that in knowing that there's lots of children out there and they want to have a full life, but you know what comes after this life is much greater than what we have here. And then after that, we're going to talk about what Jason Sullivan, he's going to join the show to discuss the assassination attempt against President Trump. And once again, it's tied to Ukraine. So all the evil that we've had because we are afraid, and then I have a diatribe I'm going to get into because I did this yesterday, and I'm really going to push hard. So all that and a bunch more today on Untamed. Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. we can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening. And let's have conversations about what truth is. Matt, you just flew back in.
I did. I'm back.
And we had Easter yesterday. That was fun. And we had Easter. And on Easter, the Pope was in the Pope-mobile. They call it the Pope-mobile. And it looked like, I think he probably knew. You think he knew?
I think he's known for a while now. He knew he was at the end, and he was preparing for that.
You know what's really hard about that?
What?
My best friend Gordon is 88 years old. He's my wife is the most important woman in my life. But Gordon by far has been the most influential, most important man in my life. So it's and he's 88. So I don't know. I just had that moment. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reminder that none of us are here forever.
Mm-mm.
And no matter how solid we feel, there's going to be a time when we too are in that position, when we're on our deathbed, and it's humbling, and it makes you want to turn to God. And I think that's kind of important, really.
Yeah, and I think there's more people that are actually moving that direction, right? Moving the direction of exploring their faith. If you don't have faith, you have hopelessness, and you have there's no barometer, there's no pivot point by which you live your life. I mean, you can just do whatever you want because
nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
And I mean, it's the saddest possible way to look at life, because if you see it that way, then you never exist again after you die. And what kind of weight does that carry on your soul to really believe that there's nothing else? Then really what matters? And I think a lot of the evil we see in the world is because people have that mentality, and they don't see it as valuable to protect other human life, because who cares? This is something that is nothing more than cells moving around, right? It's the ultimate sad form of living when you think about it.
It would have to be a miserable existence. And you'd say, well, Joe, at least I'm not pretending. And I would go, I'm not pretending either. I've seen so many miracles in my life. It's been crazy. And you would, I mean, look, I'm a miracle. I'm just a poor kid from poor stock. So getting to where I've gotten, you could probably say that if without God, I don't think it's possible. I want to show this to you, though, because this is the Pope actually going through the city. Let's go ahead and play that. I know I was playing it before. It's a cut 0, I guess. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to drink some coffee out of my red mug. And then, you know what? I'm going to drink some water out of my red mug. You see what's happening here? Are you ready to go? Here's the Pope kind of just running through. Those of you on the audio version, they were going pretty fast.
Yeah, almost like they're in a rush.
You saw a few times, though, he puts his arm up to wave at someone, catches the eyes of an individual right there.
I mean, you have to respect the strength of that. I mean, he's obviously in pain. You can tell looking at him, and he's still willing to go and do that. So you have to, regardless of the things that he's done in the past that are bad or good, I do have a lot of respect for him. And I think he's done also, he has done a lot of good. That's something we do have to have an emphasis on as well.
So do you know who his last visitor, one of his last visitors was?
J.D. Vance. I saw that.
Yeah. And they came up with some pretty crazy stuff. You know, the radical left and the demons want to create as much division as possible. So let's go ahead and, if we can, this is cut 1.
These are the gifts. These are also gifts for you.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
The Vatican tie, and then the rosaries. for your wife, the white for your children, and the red one is for. Thank you very much for your visit.
Of course. And thank you for seeing me. Pray for you every day. God bless you.
Io prego per lei ogni giorno, che Dio la benedica. Grazie, Santo Padre.
Happy Easter.
You know what they said after he did that?
It was his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the memes where he's wearing the shadow of death and has the scepter. I've seen the memes.
You know, do you think the Pope actually knew that he had 100 transgenders in the Vatican? You think? I mean, because he didn't look very, you know, it's been a while since he's looked like he's had all of his functions, almost like Biden. And there's this blank stare you get that is, you know, I don't want to say that, you know, I don't want to put a conspiracy theory around the Pope, but why would the Pope invite that into the Vatican?
You know, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that there are people who have infiltrated the Vatican to some degree that are trying to push a political agenda where there shouldn't be one. And I don't think there's a huge enclave of people who are advocating for it to be super conservative, say vote Trump. The Vatican should stay out of politics for the most part. That's what people want to see. And when they do weigh in, it should be on common sense things that are better for the people.
But I mean, shouldn't they weigh in? Shouldn't they weigh in? Shouldn't the Vatican, shouldn't the Pope weigh in on things that are considered ethical? Because if you look at it, if you go way back in history, the times that we've had the biggest struggles or the most war or the most is when there was a moral depravity, a decline that was so pronounced, so drastic that it left us no choice but to go to war in order to rebalance it.
Well, the thing is that I'm pretty confident that they're going to pick someone who's going to do a bad job. So I'm being a little more careful with what I want to see happen and what I'm encouraging. I'm kind of hoping they stay out of it because of that. But yeah, I mean, imagine how powerful it would be to have a Pope who is constantly pushing common sense, social values, pushing the true values of God and Jesus rather than the BS that they want us to see.
But they call it, so they have disarmed, you know, they, in the United States, they had there's a separation of powers. You can't have the church and the government cannot coexist, right?
Right.
Freedom from religion, right? But it's not in the Constitution. It's not actually written. It was a letter that was written. But it's a sidewalk that's already been put down, right? It's a sidewalk that everyone has followed. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of separation of church and state as a result of that letter. But the letter, it showed the intent of one of the founders, not the founders. Just saying, hey, and the idea is that the state should not be able to influence a church, not that the church should not influence the moral character of the state. And yet they've turned it around and said, you're not allowed to talk about politics at the Pope. So they have disarmed the entire group of people. The Catholic faith has become anemic to the idea that it could even have a place where it could point the compass of the country or the world, for that matter.
So I grew up going to a Catholic school for a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And some of my best friends came from that. Some of my best experiences, I learned a lot about God and about Christianity. And I kind of came to my faith through that experience. And one of the reasons why I've stayed away from fully committing to Catholicism and fully committing, I know you've also been exploring it, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a beautiful form of Christianity. And I think a lot of people are drawn to it because of that. But at the same time, when the Pope is pushing things like that, it makes you want to stay away and it gives you cold feet. And I think that's extremely damaging to Christianity as a whole because we want to see inclusivity of ideas that are positive.
It's fracturing the church.
It is.
It's fracturing the Catholic Church in a way that and I notice it because I'll go in and meet with I'll meet with pastors of the church, fathers of the church. I'll go to different churches around Denver, and I haven't gotten the vernacular down yet, but I've been studying it pretty. I don't even know how to explain my whole upbringing, but I'm a mutt from every social construct. But that's the thing that I look at and I go, well, maybe Maybe I always like to say, if God wants you to be a Catholic, you'll be a Catholic. God wants you to be a Protestant, he'll be a Protestant. God actually will put it on your heart that where he needs you to be. And I feel like I'm being drawn into this idea that that's where I need to be. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I just know that that's where I'm headed. And then my roadblocks in all of this have been Pope Francis, and the having and promoting and accepting transgenderism is not something that I can see as it's that woke virus. It's almost as if they're signaling that you have to accept the depravity of man, and that the tail is now wagging the dog.
I mean, it's reverse of what Christianity is supposed to stand for. The family values that I respect and want to see pushed forward, and man being a man, a woman being a woman, that's how God intended it to be. And to stray from that, or even encourage people to stray from it through some sort of collectivism and bringing people like that in, it hurts. And it does push people away.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
And I have a friend of mine that was raised Mormon his whole life. And he converted to Catholicism. And so I sent him a text message a couple of weeks ago. He didn't respond. And he finally responded on Easter, and he said, "Happy Easter." He didn't say Happy Easter. He said Resurrection Day. Happy Resurrection Day. And so I asked him the question again. I was like, why did you leave the Mormon Church? And there's people that are listening that are like, oh, it's because it's a cult. You could almost call every religion a cult, right?
Yeah, you could call it that.
And the lack of religion, you could call a cult.
I feel like that's the biggest cult of all. That's the worst cult.
It has. So I want to point this out, because there are some people that they would never. I was just told by Kelsey that they would never pick a bishop to be the pope. It has to be a cardinal. But there's one archbishop in particular. It's Carlo Maria Vigano, who was excommunicated by Pope Francis after publicly rejecting the authority of the Pope because of some of the things the Pope did, and denounced the direction of the modern church. So he's standing up. So let's go ahead and play this if we can.
A few weeks ago, an important collaborator of Hillary Clinton and John Podesta was arrested for pedophilia and child pornography. I'm referring to Slade Summer, a man with ties to the world of Broadway and cinema, who played a role in the effort to debunk the infamous Pizzagate affair. That is, the network, filthy complicity and horrendous crimes against minors that revolves around the international deep state. We have learned that certainly Jeffrey Epstein, and most likely Ghislaine Maxwell, were members of the Israeli Mossad. This makes us understand that the famous trips of many well-known people to Epstein Island were used to blackmail them by collecting evidence of their guilt in participating in heinous ritual crimes against minors. And if the heads of state and governance officials of the Western world do not dare to breathe out a word of protest against the massacres of civilians in Gaza Strip, it is legitimate to assume that this attitude is due to the intensive dossier with videos inculpating them that are in possession of the Israeli intelligence services. The same thing must be happening with the preparation of the fake pandemic emergency, which was lavishly replicated in all the member states of the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, and also with the farce of the Ukrainian crisis. but this blackmail of the powerful of the world constitutes the unifying
They're terrified of him.
Terrified. He was excommunicated. And by the way, if you could put this up, I want you to understand who this Slade Sommer is. Slade Sommer was the one who debunked Pizzagate. And let me just tell you about let me just tell you about this guy, right? So this was in November of 2024. Slade Sommer was the editor-in-chief at The Recount and a friend of Hillary Clinton's. And the Hillary Clinton campaign chair, John Podesta, so was connected to both of them. He was arrested last month for raping multiple toddlers and babies. You have 3 young girls. You have 2 young girls, daughters, and you have a baby on the way. What does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel full of rage. It makes me want to jump through the screen and punch him in the face over and over and over and over and over again until he can't see anymore, until he feels the same pain that he caused to those children. That's what it makes me want to do. And I can only imagine if it was my child, there wouldn't be a screen between us right now. I can promise you that. I'm getting a little emotional not talking about it, thinking about my kids. If someone ever harmed them, and what makes it worse is it's not just him. There's an entire political class right now that is doing this to children
And getting away with it.
On a scale like we've never seen. And if you call it out, you're the one that goes to prison. You're the one that gets sued. You're the one that has your livelihood taken away. These people have infiltrated our country. They've infiltrated our government. They've infiltrated to some degree, and I hate to say it, but the Catholic Church, even many other aspects of Christian life. And they are doing it purposefully and in order to get away with egregious sins that are so hard to even imagine that it makes you question reality to some degree.
What makes you question humanity, which I'm going to get to later. I do want to do this. Archbishop also came back, and I don't want to take away from what you just said, but it's all connected. All these evil people are connected. Somebody told me that, I mean, Apollo, a lot of people said it, that, Joe, you always call for violence.
Oh, yeah, we hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm. I don't call for violence. But if you're a man, if you're a real man, we've forgotten our warrior spirit. Like what you just said, go through that screen. Oh, man, there's nothing that could stop me. Nothing that could stop me. There's not a thing out there that could, God could stop me. That if you were to put someone in front of me, if I were to see someone hurting a child, that would stop me from tearing their arms off and beating them with them. I wonder if I could actually do that. You think I could actually tear an arm off, Apollo?
I'm sure some of these soy boys, yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to be the one who was having my arm ripped. I
You
feel
don't
like
wanna volunteer?
I would be willing to bet on the probability that you would be able to in that situation.
But Archbishop Vigano also issued a grave warning. This is what actually pushed over the edge. Pope Francis is a collaborator of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. Now, I'm gonna tell you something, that every faith has its black marks, black eyes. And I'm telling you this from the perspective that I'm not running away from the Catholic Church. But we have to call infiltrators what they are. We have to call people that are trying to destroy it from within what they are, because that's what's happening. We're destroying our government from within. The Constitution is gone. I want everybody to understand. The Constitution is gone. And this is what he had to say about Pope Francis.
The Fourth Revolution, theorized by Klaus Schwab and the family of international finance, find in Bergoglio not a neutral spectator, which would itself already be an unheard of thing, but actually a zealous cooperator who abuses his own moral authority in order to support ad extra, outside the church, the project of the dissolution of traditional society. While ad intra within the church, he pursues the project of the demolition of the church in order to replace her with a philanthropic organization of Masonic inspiration. And it is scandalous. This applies to both, to civil and ecclesiastical world, confirming the pactum sceleri, the criminal conspiracy between the deep state and the deep church. It seems to me that in this conspiracy the role of the Jesuit has been decisive. It is no coincidence that for the first time in history, a religious of the Society of Jesus is seated on the throne of Peter.
What did you just get from that?
They're scared of a unified Christianity. They're scared of a Christianity that's not pacifist. And what I got from that is that he is willing to not be pacifist. And if Christianity can unite and push God's word and God's mission on earth, then that's the opposite of what every single person who's in an elite position who's pushing evil wants to happen. There's a reason they fight so hard against it. And what you just heard him say is exactly why.
I want to go to what else they're saying. So 900 years ago, Saint Malachi wrote something 900 years ago that basically says that the second coming comes from the end of, will come with the death of, after the death of Pope Francis, the end of the world will come. Now, this is an ancient prophecy of Saint Malachi. And it also says that a city on 7 hills will be destroyed and a terrible judge will judge people. The end. This is 900 years ago. Now, there's 2 things that people need to understand that I think are really important. It has nothing to do with politics. And by the way, the word politics means nothing to me. It basically means to suck from people. That's what politics means, right? The thing that I want to say about this is that there is the prophecy. There's the fulfillment of a prophecy that happens. The second coming is here. And then there's the forced look of making, like the devil can convince you of a lie. I mean, the devil's everywhere, but convince you of a lie and then can try to make it emulate that this is what's happening next. In other words, they could have chosen Pope Francis because they're like, oh, it's Pope Francis, 900 years. Yeah, let's just, and so that they could, one of the things with the World Economic Forum is what? Depopulation. They want to eliminate 7.5 billion people. They think that the equilibrium and to get back to a place, they need to kill off 90 to 95% of the population of the world.
Scary. Do you feel it in your soul that the end times is close?
I do. Yeah, I think that's what drives me, frankly. I mean, I'm driven. I'm just different. Like I'm just different. And when I say that I'm different, I'm not saying I'm different, that you don't have the same propensities as I do, but I don't have any fear. Like I don't fear it. I don't fear death. I fear no man. I want it to be a better place. I want whatever it is, whether I'm here or not here, whether I'm taken out and the second coming comes now or in 200 years. I don't know. I only actually God knows the timing of everything. But I can tell you that I feel as if I'm ready for it. I'm standing up. I know that there's other people who are standing up. The only thing we lack to destroy this evil is unity. Is a unification of the idea that we're no longer willing to stand and be slaves. Because it's biblical. It's like in the Bible that there's bondage, right? That people would have to flee from bondage. And the other part that I find interesting is if you read the Bible, you have the Israelites being so God took he took that off of them and said, you're not the chosen people. These are my chosen people, right? But we don't talk about that. You have these evangelicals that are out there saying that there's only one chosen people and we have to support those people. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and if you look at the bloodline, there's only around 1,000 people on earth who share, and it's the Samaritans who share a similarity to that group of people. There is no group of people currently alive today who's super close, and the chosen people are absolutely people who choose to be Christians.
They choose God.
People. Right.
Yeah.
You're not chosen based on your bloodline. You're chosen based on your actions and your character and your soul and deciding
which is why there's a rejection of the New Testament. Okay, this wasn't going to be all about the Bible, but we got into it because I love talking about it. And I know that we have Jason that's on here in a second, but I want to, I don't know. We now have to talk about who's going to replace the Pope. And I was like, listen, there's people that are talking about for the first time taking a Bishop Schneider to replace Pope Francis. And, there's another one that I want to talk about. So we'll have our conversation with Jason and then we'll bring it in. So this is the Bishop Schneider who's talked about the invasion of, and I'm trying to tread water here. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East and Africa. And I don't believe that there are many. I think there's a group of people that want to invade and destroy, but I don't believe that is the human nature. I think that God's nature is on people. Just like you can't convict any race of being bad, you can't convict any religion either. But that's just my thoughts. Let's go ahead and play this.
Yes, this is very serious. Now we're witnessing an invasion. They are not refugees. No, this is an invasion of mass Islamization of Europe, which already went on for at minimum 50, 60 years, the Islamization in Europe. But now it is in mass. It is very evident. And so this is a global political agenda by the powerful of the world to destroy Europe culturally and religiously. I mean, to destroy Christianity ultimately in Europe, with the help of the massive Islamic population. And I was reading recently an article of a sociologist who made a calculation that maybe in 30 or 40 years, when it's now going on, so the majority of the population of Europe will be Islamic. Europe will be Islamic when this will go on, because the European people have almost no children, 1 or 2. The Muslims there, they have 5, 6 to 10 children. And so it is, you can only make mathematics, and then you can see that they will be in the majority.
Just imagine the power that would have if someone like him is leading the Catholic Church.
That's the problem. And going through it, there's another cardinal, Sarah, who has talked again, he's a populist type of leader that speaks fearlessly about things. But those leaders are not elected. And what we get instead is somebody that you say is either, they say they're a moderate, and then you get the Pope Francis that gets in and basically erodes things. And I believe it's driven people away from the church.
It has. And if you don't know how it works, so there's 120 who are part of the enclave, 250 total cardinals. And those people who are part of the enclave, they have been, for the most part, chosen by Pope Francis. They are going to be voting, and they will continue voting over and over and over until they get to a point where there's a 2/3 vote, at which point we will see the smoke that is coming out, and we will know that a new pope has been chosen. Now, that can go on for a very long time. And right now, the current makeup of the enclave, the 120, does lean more conservative, if we want to look at it from a political standpoint. Approximately 45 are relatively heavily conservative, around 40 are moderately conservative, then the rest are liberal. And there's only a very small handful, around 8 or 9, who are very liberal. So in theory, we would be able to see someone chosen who represents the enclave. But at the same time, I'm not confident.
Where do you think Pope Francis was on that? Because they had him right he was a conservative pope when they first elected him. So how is that you have the conservative pope, and yet he was as far left as you can get? So are we going to get that same sort of issue? Do you think that we're going to face that same issue?
Absolutely, unfortunately. And I think there's the pacifism that has really taken a hold of the Christian church. And remember, Pope Francis is the one choosing a lot of these electorate. So because of that, I have a relatively low degree of confidence that we will get a strong leader who can take the Catholic Church into an area it needs to be in. So I'm not confident right now, unfortunately. I'm still optimistic.
Milquetoast. You can eat it, but it doesn't taste good.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Jason Sullivan from Unleashed News. I just appreciate the fact that he always sends me his stuff so that I can see it, because he is on fire. And he's got some stuff that you're going to want to hear. You're going to want to see. And that is related to the assassination attempt of President Trump by a 17-year-old troubled young man who killed his own parents first. It's pretty crazy. We'll take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm John Tig Tigan. I'm one of the Benghazi warriors from 9/11 2012, or 13 Hours movie. If you're a gun owner or plan on becoming a gun owner, this is where DCF comes in. As one of the lead instructors over here at DCF Guns, I'm going to ensure that you can properly handle your firearm and properly defend and protect your loved ones and yourself. For those of you guys that are thinking about purchasing a gun or getting involved in firearms, DCF Guns has an introductory class which will teach you the very basics of firearms, how to store firearms, even how to pick your own firearm if you have not yet. Our next step is the 100 series. We're going to go into the fundamentals of marksmanship, which is going to be how to hold your firearm, how to sight in your firearm. Then we're going to go into the next step, which is going to be your maintenance, disassembling, reassembling your firearm. And then we're going to go into how to strings of fire, rapid fire, how to get more accurate shots on your thread. Our next step is the 200 series. With pistol, we're going to teach you how to draw from the holster and return to the holster in a safe manner. And with the carbine, we're going to teach you how to use the sling properly. We're going to teach you how to do proper reloads, what different types of reloads there are. We're going to teach you cover and concealment, what's the purpose of each and which one does what, and then good in shooting and moving, and also transitioning from your rifle to your pistol and back from your pistol to your rifle. Your next step is going to be the level 300 series. This kind of combines all your training into one step. Keep going forward is what we do. We're going to go into low light. We're going to go into close quarter combat stuff, CQB, room to room clearing, situational training and stuff like that. Your training never ends, so get in here and let's get it done. Start your training at DCF Guns today and save on classes when you become a member. And when you become a member at DCF Guns, you can unlock some major benefits. Priority range reservations, discounts on firearms and ammo, discounts on gunsmithing, and we offer a lifetime cleaning. So visit dcfguns.com to learn more, or you can contact us directly with any questions you might have.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. All right, not going to waste a lot of time. I'm going to bring him right in. We have Jason Sullivan. He is, he heads up the Unleashed, which is a digital news network, delivers relentless, fearless, and truthful journalism. He's definitely disrupting. I would say he definitely disrupts the mainstream media narrative. And his goal was to expose lies with transparency and unfiltered truth, which is what Untamed Truth is all about. So with that said, Jason, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me on the show here. It's a pleasure to be here and to be back with you, and happy Easter to you and your audience and to you and yours. And it's just great to be here. You know, there was a saying, what was it? Avis? Was it Avis rental car? They had a saying, "We try harder." Right? Try hard.
So tell us a little bit about what's happened. There's another assassination attempt,
which we
Third,
all called. We knew that was coming.
we know of.
Yeah.
Third that the public knows of. Yes.
But this flew under the radar. So tell us about that, because that I think is the most interesting part about it. We found out about it late to the game. Everyone did. And this kid killed his parents first.
Killed his mother and his stepfather. Stole $14,000 from them and used it to facilitate his escape plan and his plot to assassinate President Trump. He also used it to attempt to purchase and procure a customized, militarized, when weaponized drone system, which was intended to drop a bomb, a weaponized explosive onto President Trump and also potentially at the same time Vice President J.D. Vance, which would have included shrapnel, pellets, all sorts of different projectiles to do as much possible damage as possible. It's a weapon of mass destruction that it was attempting to procure. Now, these types of drones, and I think that you know that I did at least a two-part story. Actually, I have one still in the wings, a third part for the drones. Remember the drones and mystery drones in Ukraine?
Oh yeah,
I did a two-part story on that where I exposed the make and the model of these actual drones and who was in control of them, who manufactured them, who contracted them. It turned out that they were government-issued contracts, and it was a real-world exercise taking place in over and around New Jersey, and it was a part psyop, of course. That's why they were flying them at low altitudes, just over the top of homes, things of that nature. Long story, but I encourage everybody to go and take a look at that two-part story in the Gateway Pundit. You can just go to thegatewaypundit.com, type in my name, Jason Sullivan, and you'll find that story. It's very extensive. But we had a major concern that there could have been a false flag operation in the making, and it certainly looked to be. But I'll digress and get back to what we're talking about here. We have drones again. We have another situation where we have a very demented young man got caught up into a lot of very diabolical chat groups, Nazi, neo-Nazi type of groups, satanic.
Wait,
groups.
Stop, Jason. Neo-Nazi, yeah. But not just neo-Nazi.
Yeah, Nazis.
Ukrainian neo-Nazi groups. Like he's in real contact, real Nazis, like the real ones Nazis that are infiltrated here that now are part of Antifa and everything else. Like these are really, really bad people. Remember, these are the people telling you they don't exist. Antifa's not an organization.
These are the same Nazis that were in World War II.
Yes,
these are the same Nazis that killed the Jews and handed them over in Ukraine under the direction of.
Well, they killed the Polish. They killed the Jews. Look, I'm a Christian Jew. I'm a mutt. But we have to be we have to be honest about who's getting killed, right? There's a lot of people that died. A lot of Catholics that died. A lot of Christians that died. A lot of Jewish that died. A lot of Hindus that died. I mean, the ones that lost the most, by the way, were the Russians. They lost more people than anyone.
And a lot of good people, too. The bloodlines that would have made our current society better if they were still alive.
Yeah.
It was Banderas was the last name of the leader at the time, that he wanted to align his troops with the Germans at the time because he thought that that alignment would serve his end goal, which was to have a sovereign Ukraine at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, it turned out that Germany really had no interest in allowing Ukraine to have its own sovereign territory, and it kind of backfired on them. But they turned over their own people in order to get them out of there and to clear it out so that they could have a superior race. This is real. These are real Nazis. I exposed a lot to do with these Nazis that are actually operating in Ukraine, that have been an integral part, instrumental part of the proxy war that has been ongoing in Ukraine, that started on day one when President Biden confiscated the White House. And I say that very intentionally. We've had criminals in the White House for the past 4 years prior to President Trump re-winning legitimately his election. It's the third time he's won an election. So the point is, I think we talked about this briefly on our last show. I was part of the Robert Mueller investigation. I got the full treatment. I was interrogated. And it was all about Russia, of course. And I'm asking, what the hell are you talking about, right? Obviously, we didn't collude with any Russians. I was there. I had a small but fairly significant role behind the scenes in 2016. I didn't collude with any Russians, of course. I can only speak for myself. But it became very clear to me very quickly that it was a perjury trap and that this was a total setup, just like January 6th was a setup. And I swore to myself that I would get to the bottom of what this whole Russia business was all about. And we did. Together, we all did. And the bottom line is, if you actually replace Russia with Ukraine, it'll start to answer quite a few of your questions. So the point being is, it's all about the proxy wars, which is the big chessboard. And that's where the big money comes in. That's where the endless wars come in. That's where the endless money pits and endless money laundering schemes come from. So you had the Obama administration that was instrumentally involved, including this Obama State Department under Victoria Nuland, that helped to execute a coup in Ukraine to get rid of a duly elected president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych. And the bottom line is they wanted to get rid of him because he wanted to remain neutral between Russia and the EU and the United States. The Obama administration said that you can't be neutral. If you're not with us, you're against us, and we'll get rid of you. And that's exactly what they did. So when they got rid of him, they installed another oligarch, lots of oligarchs in Ukraine. The deep state love oligarchs. They love that money coming in. And they align themselves with these oligarchs, and they play them like pieces on a chessboard. And they played these oligarchs into a position where they would have to align with the Obama, Biden, Clinton administration, essentially, in order to get what they want. And at the end of the day, what the Obama, Biden, Clinton administration wanted, and I say that because it was Obama and Biden, and of course, Hillary was the Secretary of State during the period of time, but they were orchestrating a proxy war. And that's what they were doing in 2014. It's called the Euro-Maiden Revolution. And if anybody in your audience, which I doubt, hasn't looked it up, they absolutely should and start to do their research and find out more about the Euro-Maiden Revolution in 2014, because it is eerily similar to what took place on January 6th. Same playbook, same type of instigation, same type of instigators embedded into the crowds, agitators, things of that nature, escalating things, entrapment, the whole nine, until they execute a coup. And so you have to ask yourself, who are the people that are capable of executing coups? And who are the people that specialize in executing coups? Because those are the same people, I believe, that helped to execute the coup in 2014 in Ukraine in order to install a puppet. Petro Poroshenko, the Chocolate King, is his nickname, another oligarch. They installed him because he would be pro-proxy war. He would be pro-US. He would be pro-EU. And then, lo and behold, in comes President Trump, and he upsets the election in a big way, with arguably the biggest election upset in modern day history when he won in 2016, which was totally and completely, absolutely unexpected. And that is why Hillary Clinton was not able to come out and give her, concession speech that night because it had been laid up for her. She was slated to become the next president. She was going to preside over that proxy war. So again, after Trump royals the race and becomes the next president of the United States, probably to his own surprise slightly, we know that President Trump is extraordinarily confident, knows that he can win, and he knew that he could win. I think maybe even for a split millisecond for that moment when he actually won, that he might have even been a little taken aback and realized, the gravity what has taken place, that he had been chosen to become the next president of the United States by the American people. But that ruined all of their plans to have a endless war, a proxy war in Ukraine. They would love nothing more than to carve Russia up into 13 more mini Ukraines, and have endless war. It's an evergreen field of endless war.
Do you think that's what do you think that's what it's about, or do you think that there's something much more sinister? So when looking at chess, and you have to look at this from the 3D chess standpoint or 4D.
Yes.
And that Ukraine,
5D.
Ukraine, you had people that found out about Ukraine. You have Russia that found out about Ukraine. You had the biolabs. You had real Nazis, like the Azov battalion. It's no joke. They were shooting in the Donbass region. They were using children as target practice. Ukrainian soldiers were, because of the conflict that was happening there. They were killing children. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to say they were raping women at will, disappearing them. It's the same way that they're grabbing men off the street and using them for their private wars. Now, they have fired upon their own people in order to set up narratives that the Russians are doing it. Of course, they blew up a building.
Take place. Yes.
They blew up a building with explosives, and then said that it was hit by a missile. So I mean, and you can say, well, Joe, maybe it was Russia that did it. Russia did it to make it look like Ukraine, to make it look like Russia did. And I think to myself, Russia could have just trampled that country. Could have walked in and literally just wiped them off the planet. If they truly were if they truly wanted to take the country, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. They'd have done it.
I mean, they have as many nukes as the United States. It wouldn't even be a challenge. If they really wanted to go out, it wouldn't even be a challenge.
They have more. Have more than the United States. I mean, so it is not
debatable. Yeah.
Their missile technology is right. On point. Okay, their missile technology is on point, and the relationship they have with China,
hypersonic missiles. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't even see it coming. You wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't smell it. You wouldn't even be able to see it on any radar. It would just boom. And I think
that Russia has actually executed an enormous amount of restraint
100%
to Ukraine, because like you say, if they did truly want to take them over, they could have done it very quickly, relentlessly, and they haven't done that. This has been a really horrific situation, to where a lot of good people in Ukraine are suffering. I'm like President Trump. I don't want to see anybody dying. I want the people to stop dying. That's what President Trump wanted. That was his entire speech when he was running for president in 2024. I want the people to stop dying. That's it. And you don't want Ukraine to win this war? He's like, I don't think in that terms. I think about, I want the killing to stop. And that's what a president should want. So, again, to answer your question, yes. Do I think that there is something more to this? That there is even more diabolical plans? Of course, yes, there are. I mean, depopulation. I heard you guys talking about a little earlier. Yes, those are real things. Those are real plans that have been discussed. There's meetings that take place in secrecy where people are talking about those types of plans.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And how did they catch? Can you explain further? How did they catch this young man who was trying to assassinate President Trump and stop it from happening? Because that's, I think, one thing that's very interesting is how they're starting to kind of catch these beforehand.
That's a good question, and maybe it's because we have some new people at the helm now, and that we're actually doing some of our investigative research, and we're actually having people that are listening to some of the investigative research. And like you said, you've got people that are enabling and empowering individuals to go out and be good cops. Like Kash Patel that's his mantra: go out and be good cops.
Jason, bro, Kash Patel is. I'm wholly disappointed in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, because they talk tough. They talk tough. Yeah, we're going to shut it down, turn it into a museum. You should have brought it up.
No, I get it. Listen, I get it. And the bottom line is, like I said, they've you know, you've got to sometimes give people a little time to cook. We hope and we pray that they were good appointments. We hope and we pray, obviously, that our president has good discernment, especially after everything that he's been through, and that he's choosing the best people that he knows how to choose for the right moment and the right time. Sometimes there's a lot of questions about that. People, of course, arguably and have the right to question some of the decisions and whatnot. But there are things that do go on behind the scenes to where there is 5D chess taking place, and some people are brought in for certain reasons, for a period of time, and for a purpose. So let's just hope and pray that our president is making good, wise decisions, which I believe that he is. And he has a limited talent pool as well that he has to pull from certain type of specialized jobs. So, the American people now are being heard. Thank goodness for platforms like X, which have now brought most of our voices back. I think it still needs some work. I think there's still probably some holdovers inside of X, formerly Twitter, but it is a lot better than it ever has been. So, we've got to root for our president's choices, and we've got to try to help them in every which way that we can, and also hold them accountable. So I believe that we're on the same sheet of music there.
Yeah, I'm less tolerant than you, because by this time now there was almost 130 arrests of J6ers that were wrongfully incarcerated. We got our first case of rape inside the jail, where a jailer, a guard, raped one of the J6ers. So, and by the way, nothing ever happened with that. I just want to be really clear, nothing ever happened with that. And we had our first 2 suicides of people that they arrested that were J6ers.
You should get that. You should get that information to me. I'd be happy to take that information. As you know, I do work with Peter Tickton, President Trump's lifelong friend since they were age 15 in military high school together. President Trump has hired him as his lead.
I know him, yeah.
Local counsel, right, and his lead Florida attorney. So we have and are currently working on over 120 some odd J6 cases as we speak. Yours truly has actually helped put together many of these cases and organize these cases. So, Peter and a number of other attorneys are involved, including Mark McCloskey. You might remember Mark. He was the guy that was defending his home with
the AR-15.
Right. Yeah. So, BLM broke through an iron gate on their private residency. So, of course, they wanted to hold their ground. So, anyways, there's some really good people that are involved, obviously, that has President Trump's back. I don't know of anybody that has President Trump's back more than Peter Tickton, to be quite honest with you, because he's the only one that's known him for over 60 years in his inner circle. And he's also the only other person that's even allowed to call him Donald. So I see Peter as a great friend and a mentor, and at the same time, a partner. And I work with him at the Tickton Law Group and Investigations. And I see him as the chief civilian watch your back guy for our POTUS. So, there's a lot of good work going on right now. I'm not saying it's all great. I'm not saying everybody gets A+ right now. A lot of people are getting a lot of Ds. Some people are even getting some Fs. But there are some great people that are doing some, tremendous amount of work and doing some very heavy lifting.
I give people a lot of grace, don't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can criticize. Look, if you're so thin-skinned in this environment that you can't take a little criticism, you're the wrong business.
Yeah. That's right. You shouldn't be in it. Yeah. That's something that you learn over time and a lot of test and trial. All right.
So let's come back. I want to come back to this assassination plot, because it has been largely gaslit. But there was a Jesse Waters did a piece on this. You had a post on this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go ahead and play this video if we can. With Jesse Waters on Fox News. What?
Sure. Great.
In February, the Wisconsin Sheriff's Office arrested 17-year-old Nikita Kassip for killing his parents and uncovered a plot to kill the president. This kid, who was also part of a satanic neo-Nazi group, allegedly killed his parents for cash so he could fund an assassination attempt on Trump. Authorities went through his phone and found messages in Russian with an anonymous source. He was trying to buy a military drone to take out 47. quote, a drone with a dropping mechanism. The drone would drop a bomb, so I would need that once the transfer is complete. He was also texting a Ukrainian phone number and planning an escape route to Ukraine. Quote, how long will I need to hide before I'm moved to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months. So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to get a normal job and have a normal life, even if when it's found out I did it? Who is this kid? And why does he have an international network of arms dealers and human smugglers at his fingertips? Why is he texting Ukrainians and trying to overthrow our government? And what is it with Ukraine and all these unhinged assassins with multiple phones and revolution on their minds?
Yes. And
you can't make this up. And it was February.
Well, that's why, when I said earlier, I said, if you replace the words Russia, 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 Russia with Ukraine, 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 a lot of answers start to come to you, right? Again, you have to remember why this was created. This was created to create a narrative to pin and frame our president for colluding with Russians so that they can get him out of the way and impeach him and get back to their proxy war. That's what it's all been about. He interrupted their never-ending war. That's the bottom line. That's why they framed him for that. They started framing him for this when they realized he was going to beat Hillary Clinton, of course. They actually started framing him for this before that, when he was beating up poor low-energy Jeb. So you had a wealthy conservative billionaire who helped fund that fake dossier. And of course, we know that it was John McCain that actually hand-delivered it over to James Comey, which might answer some of your questions on why President Trump had so much disdain for John McCain. The point being is here, the people that want the war to continue in Ukraine are the same people that are trying to kill our president. That's the bottom line. And so we have, this gentleman, I'm in a very loose term, let me retract that. This deranged young man, Nikita Kasap, 17-year-old, murdered his own parents, his mother and his stepfather.
Nice house,
so that
too.
he could steal $14,000 from them so that he can finance his escape to Ukraine and also a militarized, weaponized drone that would be able to drop a detonation device onto our president and vice president. It's a very deranged kid that has, been psychologically abused. Of course, there are, people talk about MK Ultra and things like that. Brainwashing is real. Obviously, it's a real thing. And especially when you're young and impressionable. Why do you think the average age, Vietnam was 19? They send, they're looking for people that are young and impressionable. He's a 17-year-old boy, essentially. Cooks, in Pennsylvania, the first assassinator that tried to go after President Trump, that fired on President Trump, he was 20, right? And then you have this other nut job, this Ryan Wesley Roth, the second would-be assassin. He was definitely not a stable individual. So he was somebody that could easily tip and motivate him to come back here to the United States to try to assassinate our president. The guy was completely brainwashed. He was over in Ukraine. Russia is bad. Ukraine is good. We've got to fight to save the world type of thing, completely brainwashed. And then on top of that, he ended up getting affiliated directly with the Azov battalion through their production group. So there was a video that showed up. Remember the first video with Cooks, right? That's his last name, right? Wasn't it? Cooks?
Yeah.
Butler?
Crooks,
yes. So Thomas Crooks, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
BlackRock commercial guy.
Thomas
That's
Matthew.
also a common denominator.
Yeah, he was on the BlackRock commercial.
Multiple.
Yes, but be careful about the common denominator part because and it was a BlackRock commercial for Thomas Matthew Crooks. However, the video with Ryan Wesley Roth was not a BlackRock video.
No, that was different. The Crooks was with BlackRock.
Yes. Okay. God.
Yeah. The other guy was with the Ukrainian military. He was in the propaganda videos over in Ukraine.
Correct, and it was produced by the actual Azov Battalion production group.
Yeah.
I'm the one that investigated that to put that information out because people were saying it was a BlackRock video. And they were trying to pitch that to the Gateway Pundit as well. And I'm the one that informed them that it wasn't a BlackRock video, and that was a misinformation operation. And it could have been used to help BlackRock sue Gateway Pundit to get them off the map, because they're trying very hard to get Gateway Pundit off the map, big time. So bottom line is, investigated who produced that one. That was run by the Azov Battalion. That's in my story that's coming out sometime today, I believe, if not by tomorrow morning, first thing, on this story. And oh, that was Don, your friend. So the bottom line is, we're going to continue to expose these people, whoever they are and wherever they're at. We know who are the people that are trying to kill our president. We don't think we're going to allow them to do that. Okay. And so, we got people in Ukraine that are connected to the Azov Battalion, once again, here, that are communicating to a 17-year-old and coaxing him and coaching him and telling him how to hide his parents' bodies in their basement, giving him detailed instructions on how to drive and escape and elude law enforcement by switching out his license plate of his stepfather's Volkswagen, right? How to drive a specific route down through Kansas and around the way to Oklahoma, and then finally and ultimately back out to California, where he can be extracted to Ukraine. So we have these communications with them. They're being coached. Young people that are impressionable are being coached, or people that are off their rocker, like the Ryan Wesley Roth guy, that are easily, flipped and turned over.
It's not hard. It's not hard.
No, the guy was, you tip these people. They're looking for people online that obviously are exercising, traits that they are ready to tip. And
put us on the side real quick, Jason. I'll put us on the side, and I want you to pull up the actual charging document, if you can, the search warrant for his devices. If you can put that up, because I want to. This is real. I'm talking about the search warrant. Sorry, the application for a search warrant. If you go to page 6,
you're talking about the affidavit. Yes.
The affidavit for a search warrant. Yes. If you go to page 6, I want to show people this, because I think it's super important. Yes. Wait, where's page 6? 4, 5, 6. There we go. Is it 6? No, it's not. It's keep going. Yeah, that's it right there. Go to the top of that. Keep going. Yeah. Up. So this right here is from TikTok, and this is Awoken. Now I want you to understand something, so everyone can understand this part specifically. President Trump, this guy Awoken, is associated with a thing called white power, right? So he's a Nazi, he's a communist, right?
Yes.
And he hates Trump, but he's a white power guy.
Well,
you say, Joe, no.
I mean, there's no logic. Trying to put logic.
Oh, there is logic. There is logic, because because Democrats hate black people, Democrats hate minorities, Democrats, they pretty much hate everyone except for one group of people. I'm not going to talk about those, because but you have this group, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, they if you're a Nazi, if you're a communist, if you're a Marxist, they love you, right? But you have these groups, you have these white power groups that you would think, everyone says that we're a bunch of racists walking around. They'd love Trump, right? But they don't, because it's not true. Huh?
It boils down to accusing your opposition of that which you are guilty of.
Yes, it's projection.
Okay, it's projection.
But I want to read part of this. Awoken, who's him, is, it's kind of interesting how I told this girl best friend about how I follow O9A teachings and whom not and whatnot, and she was pretty chill about it. I feel like most people would freak out. LOL. Awoken. How about you? Does anyone in you're into O9A, Charlie Manson? So I guess Charlie Manson is the mystic physicist. Well, they know. My parents don't know. LOL. They would take away my phone if they did. Especially last year, FBI visited. LOL. Okay, so let me just point this out really quick, because people have glossed over this. The FBI knew who this is.
Of course,
they knew this kid. They knew this kid.
They always say that after the event has taken place. So he was on our radar, right? You know,
the FBI interviewed the Cass family in November of 2023 for unrelated internet IP activity. All members of the family denied the IP activity, and agents were allowed to view devices and internet history and found no corroboration of the alleged internet activity. Now, this would only happen, if you know anything about this, it would only happen if you had separate devices that they didn't get to inspect, which means he had a burner.
Yeah, more than likely.
Okay.
Several.
So he goes, go ahead, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
If you go to the next page on the TikTok, December 27th, he's now nihilist, right? Says, you know anybody Telegram with a Telegram group where Niners and Drexies can interact and exchange info? Sorry, no. I'm mostly in. This is somebody talking to him. I'm mostly in NSWP crew, Telegram groups. LOL. If you do find any, it'd be nice if you tell me. Now he says, "What's WP?" And he puts up the Wikipedia for National Socialist White Power. Now let me just put it all.
The Niners. He's referring to the Order of Nine Angels. It's a Nazi organization. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and they have their own tattoos. They got their own group. They have their own hand signals and handshakes. It's a big deal. Yes. But he goes in white socialism. So you have the Democrat socialists. You have white power. You see where all this comes together? You have the Nazis and you have the communists. And you know that these people have to know that they are out here fighting for something, to get people on the street to fight for them, when basically they have no, they have no interest in those people.
What did President Putin tell Tucker Carlson during his exclusive interview that his number one priority was? Do you remember that?
Well, he wanted to eliminate the Nazis.
Number one priority was denazification of Ukraine.
Yes.
People don't understand that. They don't realize that there's actually real Nazis in Ukraine, because it's been covered up. Actually, the Democrats were reporting on this prior to President Trump getting into office. But once he took office, they about-faced, they flipped the script, they changed the narrative, they erased everything else that was being investigated prior to it. And then it's all, the Azov Battalion, which is a Nazi militia group, turned into a battalion, turned into part of the National Guard of Ukraine, so they could say that they were officially part of the military. So they're no longer Nazis now because they're officially part of our National Guard. That magically makes them no longer Nazis. The point is, the Obama-Biden administration was funding these people, and that's what they did. They used the cutout to fund these Nazis to go fight against these quote-unquote Russian separatists that didn't want to have anything to do with the coup that was taking place in the Euromaidan Revolution. They knew that the United States and the EU was behind it, and they wanted to remain neutral. They wanted to be left alone. That was it, And so, again, Obama administration and Victoria Nuland and the Secretary of State, or State Department said, you can't be neutral. If you are neutral, we'll come after you. And of course, it's just the same the way they got rid of Viktor Yanukovych. They started going after the people that are Russian speaking, that have been living there their entire lives for multiple generations. And they didn't want to have anything to do with this new coup that was being driven and executed by the United States. So therefore, they wanted to remain neutral. They said, you can't remain neutral. They sent the Azov Battalion after him to go kill them all, slaughter them. This was funded by actually a Jewish oligarch in Ukraine named by Ihor Kolomoisky.
But these aren't, Jason, let's just separate it, okay? These aren't Jewish people these aren't Jewish people. These are Jewish people.
This is an opportunity.
These are people that are godless, horrible human beings, right? That's what these people are.
This is an opportunist that's a drug, not a drug. Well, he is probably into drugs too, but he's a warlord. He's a warlord, and he's an opportunist. So it would serve him regardless. Actually, they wore a T-shirt with a meme on it that was in Ukrainian that talks about, joking about how Jews could never work with the Nazis. And it's kind of it's a meme. It's a joke for them. Ihor Kolomoisky is wearing this T-shirt. And I've got another guy that actually entered our U.S. Capitol on January 6th named Sergio Debanyan, who entered our Capitol. And he worked for the in Ukraine for the television networks, and he was there to paint a picture and get the right freeze frames on the right angles at the right time and pitch a narrative back to Ukraine on national television, which was to frame Russia of coordinating with President Trump to overthrow his own government. That's the narrative they were trying to spin. It's the same narrative they're trying to spin here with this young man, that they wanted to have him assassinate President Trump and blame it on the Russians. Okay? Anything to do to keep the problem going so they can keep that money flowing. They need this war to continue to keep going, and they're going to do everything they possibly can to get that to happen. And in the meantime, obviously, it's very clear and evident that they're going to continue to try to attempt to assassinate our president. And all I have to do is go and find a lot of lunatics that are already ready to tip and give them what they need to do what they need to do. So we have to pray for the safety of our president, and we have to be very vigilant. We have to look out for these types of things. When I saw this, come out, and I looked up the recently unsealed affidavit, I immediately scanned it. Hold on one second. I immediately scanned it and then found out everything that I possibly could about it. And obviously it has the name of an individual, which is written in Cyrillic, which is a Slavic language. And if you actually analyze the language, you'll notice and you'll realize, as a matter of fact, that it is Ukrainian, not Russian. So it's a person that's speaking to this man, Nikita, this 17-year-old boy, Nikita Kasap, and he's giving him instructions on what he can do and how he can escape to Ukraine. The bottom line, it's Ukrainians that are coaching this kid in this situation. And we have to wonder why. And the bottom line is, we went back and we not only had the phone number, which was publicly listed in this recently unsealed document. Everybody can go see it. So we didn't dox anybody here. This is actually publicly available. You just have to, wonder how many people are actually reading it. I happen to read it. And we went back in the Telegram platform, and we were able to find the actual person that this phone number is registered with. And we were able to unmask the name of the individual, which his name, once it's translated, is Victor. One second. I want to make sure I pronounce it properly. It's Roman Viktorovich. Roman Viktorovich. So that is the name that he was using in Ukrainian. But once it's translated, it is Roman Viktorovich. So if anybody here that is in your audience wants to go and check on this for themselves, and they have a Telegram account, all they have to do is go add that phone number to their contacts in their Telegram account. What has happened here is this individual, Roman Viktorovich, has intentionally or unintentionally or inadvertently failed to set their security settings to hide their personal information. So if anybody in your audience wishes to go to Telegram, they enter that phone number, which is listed on the affidavit, plus 380, which is the country code for Ukraine, 50, which is also indication of Vodafone, which is the largest carrier network in Ukraine, 259-5318. And if you go there and enter that number into your contacts in your Telegram, I encourage all of you to do it and challenge you to do it right now. And once you've entered that into your contacts, then it will automatically populate the name of the individual. And not only that, their current handle at Telegram and their birth date.
Apollo, can you do this for me?
Yes. So I highly encourage, and like I said, and challenge everybody to do this. Don't take my word for it. I need everybody to go to Telegram, enter the phone number 380-50-259-5318.
So Apollo is going to handle that right now. But before he does, if you could put up page 8, Apollo. He had a manifesto. Yeah, he had inside of the affidavit, right, for a search warrant. He had a manifesto.
Manifesto is publicly made, right? But there are some excerpts of that manifesto in this affidavit.
You might have a different. No, it was just past what we just looked at, so it might be.
Did you say page 8?
I did say page 8, but it doesn't. It's 22. Go to 22.
22.
Right there. So he had at the text images of Adolf Hitler with a text as "Hail Hitler, hail the white race, hail victory." Now, here's my problem. This kid is semi-retarded.
Semi is a nice way to put it.
I mean, he's out there. And he had
Beyond
excerpts.
He's definitely on the spectrum. You can tell watching that footage.
Oh, 100%. But
very far on the spectrum.
It is clear that Jews control all of the white countries, and it's clear that they promote white genocide and degeneracy. And for the white race to survive, it is necessary to accelerate the collapse of the country's Jewish-occupied governments must fall. The white race cannot survive unless America collapses. As to why, specifically Trump, I think it's obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring some chaos. And not only that, but it will further bring into the public the idea of assassinations and accelerating the collapse are possible things to do. Now, what if I say to you, you aren't capable of committing these acts? This is perfectly fine for now. The next best thing you can do is to tribe and train. Make connections, join white conscious martial arts clubs, because once America collapses, there would have to be a network that can take its place.
People are off their rocker.
I mean, but it's articulate.
Yes.
You understand? So the articulation of what of what he's saying is not. He's not stupid.
Do we really think he wrote that though? It looks like a psyop. That's what
it does look like a psyop. But you go further, it says readings are also important. Read Siege by James Mason, Militant Accelerationism, The Hard Reset. You see the words that are used? The Great Reset, The Hard Reset. By Telegram, Keystone, Killer's Good Source regarding sabotage, a call to arms. Jiraj Krajic. The American Futurists have a lot of really good articles. They're former Adam Favin guys. There's much to learn from the success and mistakes of Adam Favin. Okay. Use Yandex to find bomb-making instruction in those books. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Jason, this is crazy stuff.
They want to kill us. There's no question about it. And, I don't have a problem with any race, creed, or color except the people that want to kill me. So, you've got a group of people here that they want to kill our president. They want to kill my president. And I don't think that we're going to stand by and allow them to do that. So, like I said, we're going to continue to expose them at every step of the way. Nobody has exposed the actual name of this individual, especially his birth date, which we have. So if you look in the article when it does come out in the Gateway Pundit, you'll see that. But if you prior to that, proactively, if you actually go in, like I said, to the Telegram, enter the phone number
plus 380
+380-259-5318. Go ahead and enter that into your contacts, into your Telegram account. Open up your Telegram account. You'll see contacts. Enter that.
Can you do this, Apollo?
And it will automatically populate the username.
Plus, hold on a second. Time out. Jason, hold on a second. We're going to do it on the screen. Plus 380 50 259 5318.
And what makes it so logical is if you look at the president of Ukraine, if you look at the CEO of BlackRock, who's profiting massively from this, trying to get the farmland, if you look at a lot of the people who are in the Biden administration that helped to orchestrate the beginning of this war and provided support, the idea that you would be anti-Jewish and be welcome in Ukraine to live a normal life, it doesn't make any logical sense.
No.
That right there shows you this guy doesn't have a clear mind. I mean, he's a kid. He's a kid. He's obviously on the spectrum. He's not capable of having a clear mind. And they're running a psychological operation to make more people like that in our country.
In this affidavit, he actually mentions to this person he's communicating with, likely this Roman individual. What about the other 10? Are they along the same lines as my way of thinking as well? So they're more than likely, and I would bet money on it, obviously, that this kid wasn't the only one they were recruiting. They're recruiting on a regular basis. They're constantly going out and recruiting people that are ready to tip. And so you can imagine that there's many others in the wings that are being recruited and nurtured and coaxed along as we speak that are going to try to take some type of action against our president. This kid murdered his own parents. And these people in Ukraine, using Cyrillic language in Ukrainian, are coaching him on how to hide the bodies, how to escape, how to escape and evade law enforcement, how to get to California and stand by to be extracted to Ukraine. I mean, that's what they did with this Ryan Wesley Roth character. He was over in Ukraine. This guy's a turd. Okay, he was a failed home builder. He wanted to build mini homes for homeless people. He was an indigent type of person. Yet he had all the money in the world apparently to travel the globe and go to and from and come back and forth to the United States to Ukraine, stopping in Poland and all sorts of other places where we have him documented. He had the money to do that. And then on only that, he was over there recruiting militias to fight in the Ukrainian war. This guy that is from, I think it was South Carolina or North Carolina, and then he was living in a room in a house in Hawaii. And then he goes to Ukraine. We're not sure exactly how many times, but we know for a fact he was associated with the Azov Battalion production team. So that's a fact. It wasn't like he was an extra. In the video, they focused in on him, they honed in on him, they paused on him, they went slow-mo on him. It was not an accident. And then magically he shows up, not long after to try to assassinate our president. And by the way, how does he know that our president is going to play golf that day?
Well, someone on the inside. I mean, just like the rep from Pennsylvania went to Ukraine and signed a missile, signed a bomb, and then shot it.
So macabre.
What's that?
It's so macabre. Like the idea of signing bombs. But yeah, it's the same thing.
And the fact that he did it as a sitting representative in our country, and he went over there and worked against the better interest of what President Trump's trying to do on the peace treaty, and he's a Republican, which he's not really, and he's a previous FBI agent, so that he's a part of he should be arrested. He should be arrested and tried for treason.
Listen, you had congressmen that were saying that these drones over in New Jersey were flying off of some Iranian mothership off the coast of the United States. Okay, talk about a psyop. Okay, an Iranian mothership flying off of our coast in the United States, not a chance. Okay, but they were trying to say that was happening. That's what was my greatest fear. That listen, our government has produced false flags in the past in order to manufacture consent to go into war, including the Vietnam War. They manufactured consent by saying that our ships were under attack in the Gulf of Tonkin. And of course, you had LGB reverse JFK's order to get out of Vietnam. And after he was assassinated, which was 10 days after he announced that he wants to get out of Vietnam, coincidentally, he's assassinated. And then LGB turns around that executive order and reverses it immediately. And we go into war. My greatest fear was that they were going to use these drones, which were being used as a psyop because they didn't want the American people to know what they were. And that's why they were flying them at night, because they didn't want the equipment to be identified. And they're doing low hanging maneuvers over the tops of homes in order to scare the bejesus out of people, instigate, a lot of different theories. People were saying that they're UFOs and orbs and all sorts of different things. And of course, they know that everybody with Photoshop and AI are going to create all sorts of different stories and spin that up, right? And so that's a psyop. Bottom line is, I identified the drones, who manufactured them. You can look that up again. Controlled by the United States Air Force and the United States Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, who funded these particular drones that were using them in real-world exercises. So we wanted to make sure that got out to the general public so that if they did do something terrible, everybody would know exactly where to look first. And, if you happen to remember, on Inauguration Day, President Trump moved his inauguration indoors. And the reason was it was extreme cold. But I was there, and it was a bright, sunshiny day on Inauguration Day. And it was it was still, I was there too. It was still really cold, but there was also, if you look at the cranes, but during the day, it was nice. Yeah.
It was okay. It was still pretty cold, but yeah, it was definitely conditions that he could have done it if he wanted to.
Correct.
It was really cold the day before, but even still, I was looking at the cranes and the structures nearby, and before they had decided to move it, there was no one guarding them. There would have been so many opportunities to take out President Trump on that day. And I think that's what he was obviously scared of. That's why they moved it inside. And I do wonder, maybe they already planned it. That's why there was no one there. So maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But
yeah, I wouldn't say the word scared, because I don't believe that our president is actually afraid of anything, to be honest with you. I think he's an absolute fearless president, and he demonstrates that. So, but I get what you're saying. But the point is, there was a legitimate threat. I was ringing the alarm about this. Dan Bongino also did, to his credit, rang the alarm about the potential of a drone attack. And he said that your Secret Service is nowhere near prepared to handle a swarm of drones, and they weren't.
Jason, you. So I, as a guy that's built a drone before, that could fly without FAA approval.
Yeah,
because all the ones now are built with chips, and those chips are built so that you can't fly near military installations. You can't. You have to register them. I believe that registration of drones is a real thing. You should have to register drones. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now.
They actually lifted those. They lifted those restrictions during just before the inauguration. They lifted those restrictions to where people could have actually evaded those restrictions and flown them and overrode the system to fly into a non-flight district like Washington, D.C.
I mean, you can override the district. You can override it very easily.
But they actually lifted it off their source code. I'll send you some documents on that.
And it doesn't have to be a large or even medium-sized drone. You can have drones that are the size of an insect that are poison tipped.
All right, so I got to tell you, that not even the size of an insect. They have ones that look like the size of salt shakers. I was talking.
Yeah.
And it shoots razor blades.
They have. I mean, you guys have seen. Obviously, it's crazy. Drones have been weaponized in a massive way in the fight in Ukraine versus Russia. They use them every single day. Small-sized drones with C4 explosives. They have middle-sized drones. They have large drones the size of a small car, which have been flown into the side of high-rise buildings and taken out multiple floors. So, the bigger the drone, the higher the capacity, the higher the ability to carry a payload, the bigger the explosive. So, I mean, these things are used every single day and they play this like a video game. Yeah, I mean, I know that you've gone to the Azov Battalion websites and social media platforms and watched them. They play this like a video game. They got a kid in somewhere office. They could even be in Germany because that's one of the locations where they were flying and piloting a lot of these drones remotely. They could be flying this thing in a room, sipping on a Coca-Cola, and they're watching the people, the troops, and they're flying right around them. They're spinning around them. They're playing with them. They're wearing them out. They're running around the tank trying to get away, and they kamikaze right into the individuals, and they detonate, and you know what happens next. Not only with individual soldiers, but they do this with tanks. They detonate entire tanks. And then, of course, the larger ones have a detonated building. So it's a real threat. Drones are a real threat, especially the ones that can be controlled autonomously and use AI, because those are dangerous. Because the fact is, if you don't have an operator, you can't detect where it's being operated from. So it's really easy to detect the drones, as you know, if you've built drones, that if you have an operator, you can detect the signals and where it's coming from, and you can intercept those very easily. But the ones that are run autonomously by AI, that are programmed in a system to go and navigate and make up its own decisions based on the environment on the fly, almost impossible to stop them. Yeah,
no, I agree. All right, Jason, how do people follow you? How do people follow you?
Well, you come to the Gateway Pundit, thegatewaypundit.com. Type in my name, Jason Sullivan. You'll be able to see the articles that I put out. Hopefully this article will get out sometime today or tomorrow. It's getting a little late today, so probably tomorrow. And you'll see some of my other articles that I did, the 2-part story that I did about these drones, these mystery drones in Ukraine, why I was so concerned about them, that it was had all the hallmarks of a potential false flag, which they could have used to do something terrible to our president, especially on an inauguration day.
So let's put this up really quick. We do have the picture of the Telegram deal. Let's put this up.
Did you find it?
This is, yeah. I think that they changed their name, or just goes to AZ now.
Yeah,
You didn't have the contact?
Well, he added it to contact so he could name it whatever.
Yeah, I just put it in, so it was quick. I added that contact name so I could add it.
Okay, got it.
But what it does have there is it has the phone number, so that's a confirmation that phone number is attached to that particular handle. You see the handle?
Yep, Roman 11012.
So what Apollo did here is he entered the phone number into his contacts in Telegram, and based on the end user, this individual, Roman, who we've now unmasked and identified, has failed intentionally or unintentionally or inadvertently to hide his personal information. Now, this is easily done because I think in Telegram, you have to opt out instead of opting in. So you actually have to opt out from, sharing your information. So this is a workaround that we've just now done live on your show, to where Apollo has gone in there, entered the phone number, and it automatically populated, because I didn't give Apollo the name for the birth date. I didn't give him the handle either. But that automatically populated once he entered that number into the Telegram account, which was a workaround and a confirmation that it is indeed registered to that handle and to that individual's name, which you'll translate it, which is Roman Vikanovich, with his own actual birth date. So I implore the internet to do its thing, and let's go find out exactly who this Roman individual is.
Well, they could have put any date of birth in there, right?
That's why I said intentionally or unintentionally, right? So,
Yeah.
but we know the name that it's actually registered to. And if you look at the affidavit, of course, it is translated to the name Roman Vikanovich. So it's a high probability that this is the individual. However, it could be a misinformation. Either way, we have the phone number. Our president has the phone number and this information 2 days ago. Okay. So he has been informed about this. That means Secret Service has been informed about this. So if
You think they'll drop a moob, mother of all bombs on top of them?
Yeah, they're gonna
be like, we got him.
triangulate
We got the dirty bastard. He's gone. We took care of him. We dropped it right on his head.
You could see that happening, right? You could see him walking out and saying, well, today. So, but with the phone number,
He was a coward. We got him.
Well, I think if they do that, we'll know it's probably not true. If they arrest him, that's how we'll know that was really the guy, because they're going to want him to talk. They're going to want him all the information they can get out of him.
Well, it'll end up being one of the Azov battalion commanders or something inside of the PSYOP unit. I mean, that's what it'll end up being.
Well, if you read my story, when it does come out, we talk about the organizations, including the Order of Nine and another organization. We track them back. They have been indeed embedded with the Azov battalion, fighting side by side with the Azov battalion. These are one of the same. These groups are all the same mindset, the same beliefs, the same belief system. So real Nazis in Ukraine, same ones that were in World War II, the descendants and the same.
I just want to tell everyone that I called it first. It's March of 2022 when all this stuff popped off, and I was like, listen, I'm on the side of Russia every day, twice on Sunday. You had, what was it? The Globe wrote it. Everyone wrote these stories about me, and that I was an anti-American traitor to the country because I wouldn't support Ukraine. And I came out and I was like, listen, here's all the stuff that, look, my co-host, Max McGuire, had been with me for 7 years, right? We were good friends. He's like, I cannot believe you would stand up for Russia. Now, I just want to say 3 years later, hashtag Joe was right. I just want to be, the
bottom line is
first. I was the first, baby.
Bottom line is now the American people, at least they're still waking up, know what the Russia was all about in the first place. Again, the epicenter for this entire event goes back to 2014 and the Euromaidan Revolution, when they overthrew a government so they can get their proxy war. They had to get rid of President Trump, get him impeached, get him out of the way, so they can get back to their proxy war, which is what they did on day one when President Biden, took over the White House, and that's exactly what they did. Now, President Trump's back in, another reprieve for us, so keep the faith, and we're all going to stay in the good fight and pray for great results, and we're going to choose and not be, victims of circumstance or roadkill. Okay, we're going to stand by. We're going to continue to stay vigilant, and we're going to continue to expose these individuals in every step of the way. And now, for a fact, our president does know that the people that want this war to continue in Ukraine are the ones behind trying to kill him.
Well, and I think we know that the problem is that those Brutuses inside the government, they're very evident. They're everywhere.
There's a high probability this guy's going to be found suicided, because if he does have information of a larger cell that is operating, they're not going to want him to speak, and he's going to be killed before they can get to him.
I would agree with that. Jason, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys be good or good at it. God bless you. And thanks for being in a good fight.
I'd rather be good. Well, actually, I can't say that, can I? Because I want to be both. I want to be good and be good at it. I want to win, baby. I just want to win. All right. Thanks, Jason. God bless you, brother.
God bless you. All right. Stay in a good fight.
All right. We'll do.
Thank you, gentlemen. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Reading that arrest affidavit, I can't help but go, what in the world is happening? Like, what is happening?
I mean, I think they're also going to find evidence if they look hard enough that he is going to be using some sort of mind-altering substance. They push it through the pharmaceutical companies. You combine that with high autism rates, which are also caused by the pharmaceutical companies. And they're creating these young individuals who are the perfect targets for these psychological operations to try to get them to do things. It's not going to stop here. It's going to keep going. It's going to be killing presidents. It's going to be political things. They're going to use this for movements. They've already used it for a lot of the protests that we've seen happening on the far left. A lot of those people are so drugged out, they can't even think clearly. It's all an operation.
It is all an operation. Last night I was at Easter dinner, and I went to go see Gordon, and they had like 20 kids there, and I had to hide Easter eggs. So I showed up just to see Gordon and Faye, and they're hiding Easter eggs. I was like, yeah, I'll help you hide Easter eggs. So I walk over, and his friend Bill is there, and Bill's 65 or so, 70, maybe 70. Actually, no, I think he said he was 80. I can't tell anymore. Gordon actually acts like he's 60, but he's 88. So I walk over, sit down next to him, and he's talking about, what do you want to do? Now, Matt, I've said this before, but I'm like, look, I want to get as far away from politics as possible. Like I want to run. Like every day, every part of my body wants to run. If it's not these little cells that want to be important, that are semi-retarded, running around saying, I figured it out with their tinfoil hats and, Flynn bad, Byrne bad, bad. Let me tell you the story. Everyone's bad. They're all out to hurt everybody else. Other than those people that are saying it, everybody else is bad, right? All the people that have sacrificed stuff for the last 5 years, all of those people are bad. But these people who work as janitors in closets and things like that, like this, what's this, Mahanan, Bigger Truth guy? The guy that he's based out of Michigan, that is about to get indicted for, I guess, doing some bad stuff to join the County Council. But everyone's bad. So you got those people over here. Then over here, you got the bickering of the Democrats versus the Republicans, and like we never stand up for anything. We're always trying to compromise on stuff. And then over here, you got the media, which basically just lies with impunity and gets away with it. And over here, you have the judges who are just absolutely rotted to the core. And over here, you have the multi-trillion-dollar corporations that are basically controlling things and have unlimited access to cash to fund whatever they want. And then over here, you have the World Economic Forum, and over here, you have Mossad and the CIA, and over here, you see what's happening?
It's a perfect enclave of human nature, of the worst of the worst.
It's like, but it's constant bullshit. Like there's no bottom of the barrel. You can't get to the bottom of the barrel. It's so dark, you can't get to the bottom of it. So he said, well, what's the answer? And I was like, war. We're going to war. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, we're going to war. Good people have had enough. And that's why you have in Colorado them taking away your guns, taking away your rights, doing it in Oregon. They're systematically doing it across the country. It's why the Supreme Court's not actually addressing things and telling us that we got to re-import. You got to re-import these terrorists.
And there's a reason there's such a big push for people from the third world to come here and integrate into our society.
For those of you that don't know, there is a judge who has pictures with MS-13 members. Like 4 or 5 of them. No, Tren Luega, or whatever it is. Tren de Luega, or whatever. What's the name of the gang?
Their names are so weird.
Yeah. Those people, there's actually a judge that took pictures with them, and one of them is actually pushing out gang signs while he's in the thing with the judge. And this is a judge. It's a judge.
How much you want to bet, though? They were doing stuff. I don't think it was it was just him letting a guy live there. I bet they had some sort of relationship, and that's part of the reason the cover up is so strong. Just a theory. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but that's what it looked like to me. Because I mean, that like who lets a gang member into their home regardless of your politics? I mean, at the same time, though, shouldn't every politician who supports that have to have a gang member living in their home? Like, maybe that would be a good solution. If you want to bring gang members here, then why don't you go ahead and open your doors? Everyone says that, but it's true. And the answer is they won't. They want to stay in their gated communities. They want to stay safe and protected and away from the same people who they're trying to bring into the country in order to get more power.
That's my issue. But I want to run away from it. So he asked me, he asked me, he goes, well, what can we do? I said, we're going to war. Well, we have to have a warrior spirit. And he's like, I don't think people have the stomach for it. I said, I do. And this is where people talk about getting violent. This is why I go to the gym. This is why I beat you in basketball.
I beat him in horse, though.
Yeah, you beat me in horse. You know why? Because horse is not a warrior sport. Basketball is. I was a warrior. I beat you.
Hey, look, it's only a matter. I'll beat him eventually. It's only a matter
eventually.
But yeah, I will say he is surprisingly good at basketball.
You see me wrestle. or throw a football. We probably should get a football. Apollo, we should get a football in here, shouldn't we?
Hey, you need to put a basketball hoop outside in the parking lot as well.
Yeah, so you can practice because you need a lot of practice.
No, so we can
to
play.
Beat me.
I've been practicing.
Yeah. But I said, look, you guys miss the whole concept of what's in the Bible. You run past, all of our church is the biggest problem that we have in our country. The church is a problem. And it's, we're talking about Pope Francis and the fact that he let this perversion into the Vatican. He let it into, but he's not the only one. I mean, there are pastors being sent to the weakest among us that want to be TikTok pastors. They're the ones that are actually telling people to turn the other cheek, come in here, just sit here. Let's all be victims together. We'll just pray. God will handle it. Forgot all about the fact that you have to pray, but you also have to stand and you have to act. That's all. It's biblical. James 2:26, faith without works is dead. If you don't get out there and do the work, you're out. And Galatians 6:10. I mean, I could go down the line that if you're not willing to speak up, and we have gotten to this point where we're so apathetic, we're so weak as men. We're weak. We are weak as men. Weak.
Have you driven through and seen all the churches now that have the gay pride flags?
Yeah.
And
oh yeah,
it's a thing. I mean, it's a very, very, very widespread thing.
It doesn't belong there. So it doesn't belong in the church. The church has a stand. It has a foundation. The foundation shall not be rocked, shall not be changed, shall not be, none of it should change. But I the one of the people that was there asked me a question, and I was like, all right, let me just put it this way. David went down and defeated Goliath. He went down there, his brother said, put on this armor, and he says, too heavy, I don't want it. Threw it off. He's got to protect me. And he went into action. He went down and he acted. And he hit Goliath with the rock, and it killed him. Boom, he fell over. What's the next thing that David did? After he did that, what was the next thing he did?
Well, there's a lot of stories in the Bible where people who are weak in theory, but standing with God are way stronger than any opponent. And so I think that is a perfect example. I see where you're going with that, where right now we're in a position where it may not seem like we're the big guys. We may not have all the power, but when we're standing with God, we are
going to prevail. You have the most power. But what did David, what did David do next? And nobody there could answer it. There's 5 of them. Not one of them could answer it.
Okay,
Apollo, what did they do?
I was like, what did he do? Tell me what he did.
What did he do, Apollo?
Sorry, after he cut his head off?
Oh, no, he cut his head off. That's what he did. He killed him. Boop. He walked over, and what did he do next? The guy's dead. Well, what did he do?
That's a symbol right there.
He cut the head off of the evil. He cut the head off of the enemy. They want us to be apathetic. And I mean, for those that are listening, you're like, whoa. They want us to say that, oh, we're just going to let the judges handle it. Why would I let the judges handle anything? They want us to say that when a teacher rapes a child, we should let the system handle it. So then the system says this. The system goes, oh, yeah, we just gave you probation. Yeah, Get on back out there and, get your Pizzagate on. I mean, think about it. They want us to be weak. They want us to rely on them. They want us to stay in bondage. They want us to be the ones that are the pathetic slaves, indentured servants. Give us your money. Give us your money. Rockefeller said, I do not want a country of thinkers. I want a country of workers. Why?
I mean, the entire school system is designed that way. They want people who are submissive and willing to do what it takes to provide them a good lifestyle. It's as simple as that. And they put the temptation of you're going to be there one day, you're going to have this. And in reality, a lot of American life, unfortunately, and life in the modern world is a scam that it's just designed to prop them up.
Yes. And they could take it away from me at any point using lawfare. They could take it away from me. Look what they've done. They have literally ruined people. And this is the problem that I have with the fact that we're 90 days in. We're 91 days in. We have not gotten rid of machines or mail-in ballots. We haven't done it. We've got a couple cursory, arrests. More people actually got arrested were bad people under Biden than ever did under Trump right now. Sorry, President. I absolutely support you. 1,000%.
More deportations, more arrests. Even under Democrat presidents, more deportations per month. So, I mean, the bar's not being set in the way that I think is looking good right now.
It's not. It's a status quo. It reeks of, hey, we're waiting. And I said, listen, if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, I built a 7-page deal. It's a brief. I built a brief. I've walked through that entire brief on this show. And I go, these are the things you have to do. You have to declare basically an emergency based on transparency and a lack of security. You have to do it. And you know what? You got to call you got to arrest all the people at Dominion and Smartmatic. And Smartmatic guys got arrested under Biden. I mean, you know what I mean? We are treated like we are the dumbest people, and we are stupid. Let's just call it. We are stupid. Huh?
Gullible.
We're not only gullible, we're weak, we're pathetic. We can't get out there and fight for children. I mean, if you can't fight for children, what can you fight for? If you can't fight for your community, what can you fight for? And if we're going to wait for someone else to do something, like it's like this: grab a stick and poke Pam Bondi. Do something. Poke Cash Patel. Do something. We hear about a teacher that rapes a child, and we're like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go pray for that teacher." Oh, the hell I am. I will pray. I will forgive that teacher when consequences are done. But yet we have them passing stuff at the Capitol saying they'll take away parental rights. They'll take away parental rights if you do not affirm the gender of the child that was groomed in a school to be told that they're now a different sex. And we don't do anything. And people are like, Joe, you're violent. No, I'm not violent. I care more about your kids than you care about them. I care more about your future than you care about your future. God commands us to be men. He commands us to be men.
There was a video I saw recently where a black father was confronting a teacher, and the teacher had tried to push transgender ideology upon the black father's son. And he confronts him, and there's this super egotistical, full of yourself, I'm right, you're wrong attitude that this teacher displays that was achieved. That teacher got the attitude by being way too comfortable and seeing so much encouragement.
Because there's no consequence. There's no accountability.
Absolutely none.
Did that father beat the hell out of him?
Absolutely not. The father didn't do a single damn thing. And I would be willing to bet that teacher continued just right along with the same things they were doing, knowing there's no consequences.
Let me just tell you something. That teacher would wake up. If I was the father, that teacher would wake up with a horse's head next to him. And you would say, Joe, you're being violent. No, I'm not. If our children are not the most precious part about humanity, if they're not the thing that is our purpose, like to carry on something so amazing in life and opportunity, if that's not the most sacred thing that God has given, He has given us the opportunity to be mothers and fathers over children.
And I feel the same protective instincts of other people's kids too that I do with my own.
I do.
I think it's important for everyone who has that instinct to act upon it.
This is the fraternity that I talk about. And look, I'm not telling anybody to be violent, but I'm telling you right now, if we continue to allow these people to do what they're doing and letting the court system do what it does, which take 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, then we're in trouble.
Okay, so I have an idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we infiltrate the Oval Office, take all of Donald Trump's Diet Coke and say, you're not getting any more Diet Coke until you make sure all these people who are working for you.
I love Diet Coke.
Actually, that's the ultimate leverage. No more. We're taking away your Diet Coke button, Trump, until you arrest all these child molesters, until you make sure everyone who went to Epstein Island even stepped foot on it for a second and played a role in what was going on there. Every single one of them needs to be behind bars, and not 20, 30 years from now after they're all dead. Right now. And the accountability is going to make sure that no one else wants to do that again. They need to see people in prison who are responsible for this in order to be scared. That fear of them not doing the same thing, of it not happening again, and it not happening right now, as it is unfortunately all over the country.
I think that's my biggest issue. That right there is my biggest issue. Did we get kicked off of X? Yeah, people telling me I got kicked off of X. All right.
So I'll check. Is that really true? No, it's still there. It's still live.
No, it's not. It was a pull down and pull up.
Interesting.
Because we can't get it right. It's all right. So I want to end it with this. Like I do not want to be violent. I don't want your kids to be groomed. I don't want your grandchildren to be groomed. I don't want to 30 years from now just have a bunch of, pixie dust and fairies running down the street while they basically take every piece of meat off the bone and say, oh, just let the AI tell you what life's all about. But we're headed there. And, we get small wins and we think that is where we think we should be satisfied with that. We're satisfied because, Easter this year was different than it was last year, different than it was the year before at the White House.
It's always the small wins and never the big ones.
Yeah, but that's it truly is Apollo, what happened on X?
It looks like there's a new stream up. That's what I'm seeing.
It froze on X.
Okay. See, I retweeted this. There's so many people watching. It was way too many people that it crashed, apparently. That's how many people are watching. That must be it.
So today, I just want to point at this. The POTUS said, this is what the POTUS said. This is what President Trump said. We're honoring Jesus Christ, and we're going to honor Jesus Christ very powerfully throughout our lives. Not just now, all throughout our lives. And, the powerful thing about what he's saying here, somebody said, oh, Trump is not a Christian. And I'm like, how do you say that he's not a Christian? Oh, because he said he wanted to grab women by the pussy. And I went, that makes him not a Christian? Well, then nobody's a Christian. Because that was 40 years ago. And frankly, the things that he's doing now emulate what somebody that God would use would do.
If a perfect Christian existed, then Jesus wouldn't have had to come and die for us.
100%. But let's go ahead and play what he had to say.
Speaking of special, Easter is special, and it's one of our favorite days. It's one of our favorite periods of time. We're honoring Jesus Christ, and we're going to honor Jesus Christ very powerfully throughout our lives, all throughout our lives, not just now, all throughout our lives. We're bringing religion back in America. We're bringing a lot of things back, but religion is coming back to America. That's why you see the kind of numbers that you're seeing, the spirit and the kind of numbers that you're seeing. So,
you know what I'm hearing, Joe?
What?
I'm hearing that the churches yesterday were overflowing in many cases. I'm hearing that all over the internet, that there's been a call to God that has risen throughout the country, especially
they're trying to control it, Matt.
They are.
They're trying to control this. Look, men right now have been deballed. They've been deballed.
Yeah.
They have been told, sit down. Social media decides who actually gets to stand on a pulpit. And here's the other part. The pastors that do stand up, that are really strong, they get admonished. Like I have a friend of mine that's a pastor in Castle Rock. And he gave donuts and coffee to the head of Antifa outside the church. And he's like, I'm going to feed him. And I'm like, you literally feed the devil. You think you can negotiate with the devil. You think that you can sit here and have somebody that lies every day and is their only, they smile at you and you feed them donuts and coffee. I will never come back in your church. Never. And they were protesting me out in front of my church. They were protesting out in front of my church, trying to tell everybody that was going to that church that Joe Altman is going to your church. And he went out and gave them donuts and coffee. He not only did not support me or stand next to me, he said, well, the Bible says that we should, that we should love our neighbor. I'm like, when did you see in the Bible where Jesus broke bread with the devil?
Absolutely not.
That ever happened? No, he ran the legion into pigs and then ran them off of a cliff to die. That's what Jesus did.
To think that the Bible could be interpreted as being weak is the righteous thing to do, and catering to evil is how you should move forward, shows that you have no clue what the Bible really means and what Christianity really means.
That's the reality. This is unbelievable. Somebody put in there that you can't actually get to the video on Rumble because it's been marked as private. That'll be the second time that I've actually got that. So Chris Pezlovsky said, "Oh, look into it." He answered me on this X post, and he didn't. They're still blocking people from watching the show on Rumble. So it never ends. Sorry. We'll get to the bottom of it. We will. But you can also go to untamednation.com too and watch it there. I want to play this. A reporter asked President Trump, you talked about Jesus in your opening statement. And here's how the president responded. Let's go ahead and play it.
You talked about Jesus in your opening statement. Yeah. How important is this country right now?
Very important. It brings the country together. I mean, it's so important that we can do that. Religion. I said, bring religion back. Religion keeps you together. It's such a great thing.
Religion brings it together. No, I think Jesus brings it together. God brings it together. And remember, by the way, back in the day when Biden had the Easter Bunny guiding him around? I want to show you this. Let's go and play it.
Do you remember the bunny with Joe Biden? Remember? Do you remember when the bunny took Joe Biden out? He's not taking Trump out. Anyway, that was a beautiful moment when the bunny saved Joe Biden.
And it wouldn't be Easter without Pete Hegseth giving the media a little bit of a slashing. So he took about a minute and a half of time to just beat him in the face. Let's go ahead and play it.
Do you have anything you want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. Hoaxsters. This group, no, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with access to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much. Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way. Come on, guys.
He has an entire basketball team there.
He does. But you know, now they said that he had another signal chat with just his family. No evidence, just 4 anonymous sources. Anonymous sources. It says that he had a secret chat about the Houthis again with them. They don't even have to say the truth. They can just lie, and it creates this opportunity for just absolute. Just it's disgusting. Anyway. It's Easter. Easter is, Easter was yesterday. We, and I'll leave it here. David and Goliath. There's actually not a story in the Bible that it's a very violent book. If you really want to look at it, it's a violent book. It's a book of accountability. There's stories and stories and stories and stories in the Bible of trials and tribulations that people went through. But in the end, it truly is a Bible that pushes towards getting yourself out of bondage, getting yourself out of slavery. And the Bible is full of stories where, different groups of people were in bondage. And right now we're in bondage. And the only way to get out of bondage is to fight out of it. You are not going to be able to negotiate with evil. Evil's not going to crawl back in a hole and say, you got me. Oh my gosh, you found me. I know that I was being evil. I'm going to go hide over here right now. It's going to continue to double down. Doubling down like Eric Coomer does. Dominion Voting Systems does. Joe Biden does. Democrats do. People that say they work for the FBI that then went out and created these stories of, I'm going to go to Ukraine and sign my name on a bomb and go kill someone with it. Now, what is more violent? You tell me what's more violent. Dropping bombs on people you can never see? That's a coward's way out. Or watching people die in a proxy war. So even if it's a proxy war of a country sending its own soldiers out to do the battle, under the guise that you're doing something to promote something good, show me what is good about the fact that we went into Iraq. Show me what happened in Afghanistan. Show me what happened in any of the countries. Let's look at Vietnam. Let's look at Korea. I mean, how many people had to die in World War II? Why couldn't we get to the table and stop people from dying in World War II?
Now, the thing about World War II is the 80 million people that died, many of them were between the ages of 16 and 24. Many of them hadn't even had kids yet. And so we're talking about people who are strong, people who are forced to fight, people who you want their kids to continue on. And one of the reasons why I think Europe is so weak and gay right now is because a lot of their best bloodlines died off, unfortunately. And there's still a chance. There's still a lot of good people in Europe. But that's one thing that I think has really gripped the world, is that we keep having these wars that take out so many good people and in their bloodlines forever.
Yeah, I don't think you're right. You're 100% right. And look at the men that died on the beaches of Normandy. They died on the beaches of Normandy, and they can't have kids. They went onto that beach just for the illusion of protecting freedoms. Just the illusion. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. Everyone said that they were on the right side. Hitler ultimately thought he was on the right side of history. right?
That's absolutely true. He did, especially at first.
And so you have wars that are happening. I don't think people understand the concept behind this. Everyone says, well, there's two sides to every coin and three sides to every argument. No, there isn't. There is the person that is lying about the circumstance, and then the person that's telling the truth about the circumstance. But both sides have soldiers that went into war that were willing to die to defend what they saw as truth. But that's actually not true either. See, soldiers are sent to die. It's never the leaders. It's never the leaders that are sent to die. If Congress had to go and actually get involved in a war and stand on the front lines, how quickly do you think we'd be at the table for peace?
Right away. It would be a negative war. It would have already ended before it started.
If there was a pinpoint on an individual that was making decisions to kill people. See, President Trump's like, I don't want war. I don't want to fight. Why? Because I truly believe that he feels for the death of every individual. He feels for the death of the person that dies on the battlefield that is Ukrainian or Russian. And he said very clearly 6 months ago, he goes, I just want people to stop dying. That's all I want. And the media basically ignored that statement. They ignored that statement. They went over here and they said, let's get back to war. We can't get back to peace. The only way that we have peace is when Ukraine is victorious. Here's $80 billion more in weapons. And this is not hard. This isn't hard. You want to tell me I'm violent when I want to hold people accountable. You want to tell me that violence is not the answer. You want to put men in jail for being violent, for protecting their own families. For what's his name? Daniel Penny?
Daniel Penny on the train station. Yep.
Daniel Penny walked over. It wasn't even, he had no dog in the hunt. He was protecting another individual. And he choked that dude out. And they're like, oh my God, she's homeless. Yeah, he's a drug addicted, homeless psychopath. And you know what? Am I glad he's with Jesus? And do I hope that he accepts Jesus as his Lord and Savior? I absolutely do. 100%. I don't want anybody to die. I mean, the reality of it is we're all going to die. But I don't want anybody to have a violent death. I don't want to have to hurt anyone. Anyone that has ever killing a man will change you forever. Forever. And so you want to sit here and these people want to tell us that, you keep pressing violence. You just killed tens of thousands of people. You just rounded up people in Ukraine, put them into a van, drove them over, put them on the front line of the meat locker or the meat grinder, and made them die. That's the reality. That happened.
Fathers, people who own businesses. It seems like a statistic when you look at it from a distance, but these are human souls, and these are people who aren't necessarily inclined to be violent on their own. They may not want to fight. They don't have a choice. And our government is intentionally making that go forward in order to profit from it. And so the people who really own the government can get richer and richer while we die.
Tell me how many billionaires are on the front lines of Ukraine.
Let me check. I may have to research that. Is it a few hundred, right? It's actually zero. It's zero. That's right. There's no billionaires on the front lines.
How many billionaires, how many world leaders are out, firing the gun on the front line?
They won't even walk to the grocery store without 10 security guards. Think they're going to the front line of a war?
You see what I'm saying? Like we've allowed these people to do horrible things to our people. Horrible things. You want to know why they censor me? They censor me because of this. Because it's all bullshit. It's all kabuki theater. It's all theater. The reality of it is that they're not the ones that suffer the consequences. They raise taxes, it doesn't affect them. Stock market drops, has no effect on them. They got a jar full of cash over here. When it goes back up, they'll double the money. People are made fools. They just get to use us as useful idiots while we indenture ourselves into an environment where they can do whatever they want to us. These judges are shit. And they create an entire process that pins us against each other while they eat the spoils and watch as a gladiatorial contest the conflict that exists in society. And some of the dumbest human beings you're ever going to come across, yeah, they hold protest signs. You can ask them a question and their understanding is about as deep as a 5-second TikTok video. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not.
So I said yesterday when asked, what's going to happen? I said, we're going to war. It's going to happen. Why? Because so goes South Africa, so goes the United States. So goes the UK, so goes the United States. So goes Canada. Check it out. That's absolutely disgusting. Their GDP, by the way, has been flat or down over 10 years. They've never had an increase in GDP. Go check it. You look at what's happening in Mexico, South America, where entire currencies are suppressed. Look at what's happening in Iraq. The dinar's been worth nothing with the largest oil reserve nearly on the globe. Uranium, precious metals, they all exist in Iraq. And it's one of the poorest populations in the world. And nobody even knows. Like, they have more resources. They're literally like they're I don't even know how to explain it. It's like having a diamond factory. You don't have to go very far. You could literally take a bucket and a shovel, and you're liable to hit oil in Iraq. Just in the middle of the desert, just dig it. get it. I'm not kidding. And look at what they've done to the currency in Iraq. Look at what they did in Mozambique. Look at what they did in Sudan. Oh my gosh, you know what's happening in Sudan? I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. South Sudan. Remember, we were gonna liberate South Sudan, from President al-Bashir, who I spent time with. We're going to liberate him. These people, this Christian nation. You know what's happening to them right now?
Christians are being killed at a high level.
And Salva Kiir is the president. And the vice president, yeah, he got arrested under house arrest because he's supposedly associated with what we know to be right now a CIA stronghold in South Sudan. It's all set up. You know what else is true about this? This came on the heels of President Trump shutting down USAID, so the CIA had to create their own ops. They had to create their own ops so they could create cash flow. Well, there's this area called the Abyei, the district that sits between South and Sudan and North Sudan, or Sudan. And guess what's there? Oil. So you want a conflict so you can do what?
Take the oil.
So you can take the oil. And they can sell it for pennies on the dollar, and they can finance all of the stuff that they're doing. This is why I have a problem with somebody telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, you tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Tell me. Go ahead. I want to hear you. I want to see how many people have been over in Sudan, Syria, Egypt, Kenya, Uganda, DRC, Ghana. Oh, you want to talk about genocide? Ghana's like the perfect poster child. Bodies roll down the river into Accra, literally on a daily basis. It's sickening, Matt. It's truly sickening. And we sit here and we allow it to happen. As men, we should not let this happen. We should not let the pinnacle, the middle of the wheel, the cog to the wheel should not be the United States in the degradation and in the demise of humanity.
It's here's this thing to watch, here's this thing to do, here's this food, here's this entertainment, here's this conflict to make you feel like you're a part of something. Now you're a Republican, now you're a Democrat. And it's always a distraction, a constant distraction from what's really at hand, which is we're doing all this so we can keep murdering, we can keep raping, and we can keep taking, and enriching ourselves. And all of it, unfortunately, is tied together.
Yeah. We have got to become more forceful. We have to. We have to stop letting them use us by saying these influencers are what's best for us. And the little dweeby little douche nozzles that say Joe calls for violence. Yeah, these are the ones, by the way, that are raping children and beating their wives. In the meantime, I've got a beautiful wife and beautiful children. And people take one look at me and they're like, yeah, I don't want any part of him. So I don't have to go to violence. And when I do, it's because the other person's evil, not because I want to hurt anyone.
What did Teddy Roosevelt say? Carry a big stick. So you don't have to then use it for violence. That's basically the same. I just blanked on the quote right now, but
yeah.
Yes, I mean it's the same thing. If you're strong and if you push yourself out there and make sure that people know if they come after you, there's going to be a consequence, then they're not going to come after you.
Well, they will. They'll come for you, but they'll come and they'll gang you. They'll gang up on you. They'll lawfare you to death like they've done to me. They'll use the media as a tool to beat me with it.
Speak softly and carry a big stick. There it is.
Speak softly and carry the big stick. And frankly, that's the way it should be. And recognize that not everyone's on your side. Even the people that are smiling at you, that are on your team, that tell you they're there for you, they're not on your side. And that goes for every part of our society. President Trump's got some decisions to be made. He's got some extraordinary decisions that have to be made very shortly. And I think that he is more frustrated by what's happened. He thinks that a lot has been done in the last 90 days, but he also is very frustrated by what's happened in the last 90 days. It's like a Kardashians. You got guys like Scott Presler that are just total trash. And I don't care if you like Scott Presler or not. I'll say it right here. Scott Presler is a dancing fairy Kardashian shitbag. That's true. Now I want to tell you something else. You ready for this? Ready for this, Matt?
I'm ready.
Okay. This happened yesterday. So I brought up the fact that we needed to make sure we applied force in our communities to hold people accountable, which means if we have to shake buildings, we should be shaking the living shit out of them. You want all this stuff to end? Start shaking buildings, because guess what? Remember, all those bad people, they don't want to. John Roberts said this when he had the Texas via Pennsylvania, right? He said, they're burning stuff in the streets, they're rioting, as a reason to say that there was no standing for Texas to have against Pennsylvania in the stolen election of 2020. True story. You want to know why? Because they're weak and pathetic, 95% of them. And they have no appetite to be on the front lines. They have no appetite to protect any Americans. They want to be academically superior to you. And so as a result, we're left with something. So I said something. I said, when we were talking about the fact that we have to apply force to society, if you want to stop evil, you got to put force behind it. And then they were like, oh, you know. And then I said this. Well, that's some bullshit. And they're like, oh. And one of them got really angry at me because I used a curse word. I mean, so angry, they stood up and that was their justification where I can't believe you would say that here. And I'm thinking to myself, your raping of your children did not get you angry. Gangs out there raping and murdering and trafficking women and children, that didn't get you angry either.
Or what about with Austin Metcalf, where they killed his son? Did that make it? What made Austin Metcalf's father, if you know this storyline, more angry? Jake Lang going and protesting on behalf of his son and calling for an end to what is unfortunately a large epidemic of black gang violence and black violence in overwhelming statistics. He got more angry at that than he did that someone killed his son.
Yeah.
He forgave his son's killer right away, but he's not willing to forgive someone who stands up against his son's killer.
No, and so you see this thing that's happening. I'm sorry this isn't convenient, but you want to get, I mean, this guy was angry at me for saying bullshit. People have gotten angry at me and said, don't use curse words. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, it's just a word. And yet the actions of people hurting your children, hurting your community, destroying opportunities, all of that stuff doesn't make you angry at all. Like there's no anger. I mean, it's an upside down world. Like, why are we not upset? Why am I more upset over Metcalf than his dad? And yeah, he's in a position. And then you had people say, let his dad mourn and handle it his own way. See, that's not how communities work. That's not how communities of brothers and sisters work.
It could be one of our kids next.
Yes.
It's not just about his. He's not the center of the story. This is a larger epidemic. Austin Metcalf is a symbol of it. We're not going to be silent because of how he wants to mourn. God bless him. I hope he's able to get through it. But at the same time, we're not going to be silent or be weak based on his opinion of it.
And he said, let the system take care of it. He said, let the system take care of it, because the system has done such a good job of taking care of it up to this point.
Yeah, the system has him in a mansion, getting a bunch of money, which the parents just changed the gifts and go to now include housing expenses, to include expenses that are luxurious in nature. So basically, they're getting a lifestyle upgrade as they cry on camera and pretend to be the victim, while Austin Metcalf's brother lost his twin. Never get to see him again. His closest friend.
He didn't just watch him die.
He tried to save him.
Yeah. All right. Well, the Nuggets are on tonight. Second playoff game. They got to win. And the Oklahoma City Thunder wiped the ground. I mean, just literally, what, 51 points?
51 points. And SGA didn't even play well. So I don't know if... Yeah. Like, I don't know how he's going to be the MVP over Jokic, but...
no way.
They're going to still vote him that way, but he's not the real MVP, and everyone knows it.
Jokic, he needs to get the MVP. I think Jokic is going to do whatever. He's going to will them to another championship. Lose the coach, lose the general manager. Sorry. I could talk about this all day long. I'm actually, and the Avs, by the way, I think are up 1-0.
Every time I've watched an Avs game, they've blown out the other team. So
it's really good. We got some good sports here, and they're beating the Dallas Stars. So
yeah, Joe Altman Sports Podcast coming soon.
Yeah, I could go through it. Yeah, so we will see you guys later. We're gonna drop this with a prayer. Do you want to pray us out?
I do. Yes.
All right. So Matt is going to pray us out. Matt.
Dear Lord, thank you for giving us a wonderful Easter and showing us the light and allowing us to see the evil in the world and giving us a platform to fight against it, giving us the strength and courage. Continue to give that to us as we try to honor your name and do good by you. Amen.
Amen. We'll see you guys tomorrow.